August the 25th, 2019. Guys, you're looking at the 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center. Now, the disturbance that we've seen, called disturbance number 1, has pulled offshore. When you see it's 80% chance of cyclone formation. And that's the way Chantal did. It really never strengthened until it got out a little away from land, moved further up north, guys. Then it became Tropical Storm Chantal. Now, so that more than likely is what's going to happen with this storm. Now, in the bottom center, we have Tropical Storm Dorian. Now, you can tell that it's moving at a pretty good clip. It's getting closer to the Leeward Islands there, but it's now sustained winds at 40 miles per hour. Minimum central pressure, 108 millibars. It is moving west at 14 miles an hour. Now, some of the timing of the strengthening has changed. Let's take a look at that. Now, the path hasn't changed that much, but the timing of the strengthening has changed quite a bit. It had yesterday in the first report. By Wednesday it was a hurricane, which you see here. Now, this particular model, it completely eliminates Tuesday, and later in the afternoon, Tuesday was going to be the day of strengthening. It still could be. Then we see, after it gets into this area of the Caribbean, south of Puerto Rico, which I now officially name, via the BPEarthWatch Encyclopedia, the Hurricane Kill Box. We saw what happened before. Now we see it suddenly becoming going from a hurricane to a tropical storm to a tropical depression by Friday. Now, of course, some of this weakening will be because it's crossing the Dominican Republic and Haiti here as it moves northeast. But, guys, we've seen some strange things with these storms this year. As a matter of fact, in my years of watching hurricanes, which started when I was very young from being caught in them, I've never seen a season like this where storms flare up and get wiped out. Now, we caught one, and I would bet that regardless of what they say, the one that we saw get zapped south of Puerto Rico in what I'm calling the kill box, and it was just west. They're saying the storm will be by 8 a.m. Wednesday right here. We saw it here, going back to the previous storm that got wiped out. We saw it here, strengthening. Then as it moved just a little further west, go back and watch that video. We saw that glowing red donut arc above it, which even before the video was over, people were saying that looks like something from HAARP, BP. And I agree. It happened. The storm dissipated out of nowhere. Guys, never has this happened. Sometimes they will weaken as they go over the islands, but just to flare up and just dissolve during the peak of hurricane season, which September 10th is, and we're in that rapidly rising graph right now. Just before it gets to September 10th, it rises straight up and drops back down, goes into November the 1st. And that's kind of the peak of the strongest and the most storms. But we're in a back-loaded system. Remember what they've been saying from the National Weather Service is that because the storms have been slowed down by the Saharan sand layers and wind shear, that the system would be strongest near the end of the season. So that's what we're watching. Let's look at a couple of the satellite images. Now, this satellite is covering the Atlantic. It's called the Wide Atlantic View. Starting in the top left, we have the system that they've been watching in the Gulf of Mexico. It's still producing showers. It's keeping us cloudy here with sprinkles. The heaviest rain is still out in the Gulf of Mexico itself. As of 10:50 a.m., still doing the video, that's central. It's 80 degrees outside with a 93% humidity. Heat index on my weather station is 86 degrees. So that's not bad compared to what it's been. It's been really hot. This is somewhat pleasant. Now, off the coast of Florida, the remnants of what they were calling disturbance number 2. And it's going to pull out into the Atlantic. You guys still getting some rain and clouds from that area. And a lot of this is actually being pumped out of the Gulf from the system we were watching here. Now, here is Dorian. It's not a large storm, but it's wrapped tightly. It's approaching the islands, which are here. As it comes in here, through the kill box, now officially the kill box, the other storm, last storm got right about in here, it's when it got zapped and it went from a pretty well organized system to nothing. So we'll watch this, guys. But here is Dorian. It's picking up strength, it's picking up speed, for again moving towards the U.S. at 14 miles an hour to north by northwest clip. It's you saw the path, but I want to show you the spaghetti models. But first, let's look at the infrared here. And again, starting at the top left, guys, you see this front coming in across northern Texas. But here's where most of your moisture is, south of Louisiana, right there. And it seems to be attempting to pull it north and east. So that's going to kind of give you an idea where you're going to get your rain today, now that it's starting to heat up with the sun above the clouds. Here's the remnants of disturbance number 2. And here is Dorian. Now, you notice we still have these storms that are stacking up coming off the coast of Africa in this direction. So those are kind of the feeders. They'll come off if they can make it through that sand or any wind shear. This time of the year, it's very easy for them to develop. Now, this is your spaghetti models. Everything's kind of showing the same thing as that cone, guys. At 8 a.m., it's not showing on the other chart. At 8 a.m. Monday, the storm should be right about here crossing the islands. Then it moves north by northwest, crosses just south of San Juan, comes up in through the Dominican Republic. Then a lot of the models drop off right in the area where it showed it was slowing down. Now, the Navy model, which is in Navy Global Model NVGM right here in the purple, is showing it continue. Now, not the strength, but the probable path straight up through the Bahamas. A couple of them are further south. If, according to the tabs and a few of these other ones that stop, there's a possibility it could come south and move into the Gulf of Mexico. We're too far out to know, but it's a generally north-northwest pattern. Again, this is one of the tighter patterns that we've seen this far out in the Atlantic, that are to where a lot of the models agree with each other. Now, another thing I want to say, if you haven't been watching, the G7 is going on, and I saw the report this morning early coming out between the meeting between President Trump and Prime Minister Abe from Japan. And guys, if you're going to be in a trade war, in the art of war, who do you want in the White House? You want one of the best businessmen in the nation, on the planet. Let me back up. And what Trump did, and if you can go to Fox and watch this, and you got to get through you got translators in there going back and forth. But what they're going to do is a lot of the corn and a lot of the wheat that our farmers were selling to China, now Japan is going to buy. That's great news for our hard-working farmers. Plus, there's going to be increased trade and lower tariffs on technical information, online services, online technology, all of that. So what Trump has done, and this may prop up our stock market, because remember, we closed at 6:30 Friday. The market opens in the morning. Futures are, I'll do an update on that. We'll look at them as it gets closer. They won't really be accurate until within 30 minutes of market opening. But this trade deal with Japan not only will help our farmers, it may balance out this stock market, because Steve Bannon also has a video out, and it talks about, you can search it, Steve Bannon saying the U.S. can take China down in a few days economically, because the New World Order worked with our previous administrations to ship the power and wealth out of our nation and to weaken it, make it a level playing field, a basically very weak level playing field. And our politicians, and some of them are still there on both sides of the aisle, have helped in technology transfers, and bad trade deals, in shipping manufacturing overseas. So those will be the ones, as this trade war goes forward, that you'll see squeal like a pig the loudest. Watch for them. Watch for people that have had these trade deals with China. Both sides of the aisle. We're talking about Mitch. Okay? On the Republican side. And then probably about 90% of the Democrats, including the Bidens. and past administration. So again, good news coming from the G7. Watch for updates on this storm system. You guys in Louisiana and down where I'm at in Mississippi, watch for some pop-up thunderstorms as the heat gets on top of those clouds that we see off the coast of Louisiana from the remnants of disturbance number 1. Guys, it's a heads up. Be safe.